This is another damn podcast about digital asset management. I'm Henrik Gyor. Today I'm speaking with Andrew Mannone. Andrew, how are you?
I'm good, Henrik. How are you?
Great. Andrew, how are you involved with digital asset management?
Well, that's a great question. When I was first hired at America's Test Kitchen as an imaging and color specialist, we were really at the beginning stages of bringing all of our production work in-house for color correction, proofing. We had some established processes and workflows already, but it was all rather kind of informal to a certain extent. And production, my department, is kind of like the central hub. All of the print projects that my company produces flows through our department in one way, shape, or form, sometimes twice in the life cycle of a project. And I was given a really large degree of latitude to completely rebuild the imaging workflow from the ground up, which was awesome. And that's really where I started getting involved in digital asset management, especially in how we think of it today at the company. Ever since then, production has really established itself as the go-to place for anything that the company needs in terms of retouching, compositing, silhouetting, proofing, anything pre-press, and, of course, digital asset management. And since that time, I have a new role at the company as the workflow and asset manager. Primarily, my goal now is to develop and support the workflows for the existing products and publications that we have, but all of the new initiatives that, forgive the pun, the business cooks up, whether it be some sort of online social media initiative or whatever. Like a lot of other publishers, a component of our business model revolves around repurposing content. In America's Test Kitchen, we've got some what I would describe as unique challenges. One individual image of a plate of food. That image might have, through its life cycle of going through different products, up to 6 to 7 output color modes based on whatever the requirements are for that publication it appears in. And our job in production is to be able to track all of those assets, where they came from, what asset they were derived from, where they were used, back to the source digital negative file whenever we need to create a new output color space.
Just to clarify, when you mean the outputs, do you mean print versus web versus other?
Yeah, exactly. Our flagship magazine, Cooks Illustrated, relies heavily on duotones, whereas some of our other magazines or books use quad tones in addition to standard CMYK full color images. And then, of course, the web has its own requirements. To support all of that, we had to come up with a metadata-driven automated workflow that not only ties desktop applications together, but ties together our DAM system.
Andrew, how does a media company focused on cooking use digital asset management?
When you think about what it is that we do, we've got not only our TV shows, our magazines, our books, and our online websites. We all generate images and InDesign layouts, PDFs. We need a way to track it all. We use DAM as kind of like a two-prong approach. There's the repository quality of it, storage of our finished assets, but there's also a workflow component of it. That's really my focus on DAM is using DAM as workflow from the start of an asset's life cycle all the way to goes into the repository side of DAM. When we started using our DAM system, we ultimately decided to go with Cumulus, put out by Canto, and it threw us for a loop at first because we kind of approached it thinking it was, an out-of-the-box solution, ready to go, kind of like Adobe Bridge, but with a big database backend. And after a while, I was like, well, something's not right here. Then I started to realize that it's not just an out-of-the-box solution. What we got when we chose our system was it was a platform. And that's when the real power of what we got was fully realized. My favorite way to explain Cumulus to people not familiar with DAM or some other departments is to think of it like a Lego set. Like a Lego set for that really awesome medieval castle, but you threw out the directions.
Ooh.
You've got all the pieces there, but you need to figure out how they fit together to build that castle. It'll take a while, but it's a puzzle that you have to solve, and once you got the hang of it, that's when really good things started to happen. It falls into really one of two categories for what I've been trying to use our DAM system for: solving a workflow problem or to better communicate information to a user. There are some simple things that you can do, like on the web front ends, tweaking the CSS to convey the company branding so it has a consistent look and feel across all of the different other online systems that we have at our company. Presenting information to the user in a way that makes sense, like if you're searching for various recipes, are the recipe elements grouped in a logical fashion? Recipe name, is it part of a book chapter? What's the chapter name? What's the book project name? Then there's the workflow component. Sometimes it's really simple things like Cumulus will capture all of the EXIF information from the digital camera, but it doesn't always render it in a completely human, consumable way. Like, for example, exposure mode. It renders it as an integer, and in most imaging applications, you would see something like aperture priority, or auto exposure or something. But in Cumulus, it shows up as a 0. So I wrote a really simple formula to parse the integer into a auto exposure, and it's simple things like that give more context to the information that's already there, and it helps the user interpret what they're seeing when they're viewing the various records in the DAM. When it comes to solving a workflow problem, a lot of what I do is getting Cumulus and, say, Photoshop to talk to each other. Most DAMs have some sort of way or method to convert asset X format into asset Y. Like,
right.
I need this JPEG into a PNG. Most of the times, that's fine. For us, it's not as sophisticated as we need it to be, because our publications have some really not mainstream print outputs, like duotones or quad tones. We need to harness Photoshop to get everything the way we need it for a particular publication. I was able to use the tools that Cumulus provides and some scripting to select images in Cumulus, route them to Photoshop, process them based on metadata that's embedded in the image, then save out the result and catalog it back into Cumulus. That lets us track where an image has been, what other output mode it's come from, very easily.
And so you mentioned earlier that you didn't have the instructions for the castle, but you were able to build your own castle.
I'll wager to bet that another user using the exact same DAM, it won't look anything like what we've built here at A2K. I mean, we've got tons of formula fields that pull information out of like a file path to display the project name, and a lot of nomenclature that's specific to America's Test Kitchen. When people first start, their eyes glaze over because we have so many acronyms that we throw around. We joke that we can talk in complete acronyms and have it make perfect sense to the people in the know. And so, we've incorporated that into our DAM. It's familiar to the people who have been here. One of the other things we were able to do is now that more than ever, cross-media publishing is important and it's just growing exponentially, we needed to rewrite our web CMS, and our internal web development team rewrote the CMS that drives all of our websites. And we took that opportunity to integrate our Cumulus DAM into the CMS with the Web Services API. And that has saved countless hours for the web editorial department, saving off hours from load times for each magazine content load cycle. That's actually set us up to do some really great things in regards to the cloud, and can't get into details right now, but we're looking to putting a lot of assets into the cloud using the dam to control who can see what. It's going to be exciting.
Sounds like it. And what advice would you like to share with dam professionals and people aspiring to become dam professionals?
Okay. I thought about this one for a little bit, and it occurred to me, I've been working specifically in dam for 3 years, and I still feel like I'm just starting out. So I still feel like I'm in that aspiring to be a dam professional category, but I've learned a few things. Having a natural curiosity is really one of the requirements to do this type of work. You really need to enjoy solving puzzles, finding a solution to a challenge, and being detailed-oriented. Now, once you get past that, read up on some of the industry standard groups, like Adobe's XMP, IPTC, Dublin Core, Prism XML. These are all really great resources that you can take and figure out what's the best way to structure my metadata. Can I use something that's already existing for developing my taxonomy instead of having to start from scratch? Mm-hmm. And then I would say learn all you can about XML. Whatever your operating system of choice is, mm-hmm. learn the scripting language that's native to that platform. We're an all Mac shop, so AppleScript is my go-to mm-hmm. for scripting. We're doing a lot of web projects now. Cumulus has several web front ends that we use, and so JavaScript has become one of those languages that I kind of knew, but I'm learning a whole lot more of. If you can find any sort of professional organization to connect with, to find people that are in your field doing what you do, LinkedIn is a great resource. If your dam system has a user forum, get involved on that. I've met a lot of great people and made some really great contacts by participating on the user forum for Cumulus. Read a lot of books, blogs, whatever you can get your hands on, and have fun. Play with stuff, see what works, what doesn't. I mean, the way I learn the best is to kick it around, see how it works, and possibly break it, and then try to put it back together. I was the guy that took apart all their toys as a kid, and it drove my parents nuts. But that's kind of the way I approach working with DAM, and it's panned out so far.
Excellent. Well, thanks, Andrew.
Thank you, Henrik.
For more on digital asset management, log on to anotherDAMblog.com. Thanks again.